Breaking news in the National Football League last week. Trey Lance, who was the third overall selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, picked by the San Francisco 49ers, has been traded to the Dallas Cowboys. During his time with San Francisco, Lance only played 8 games, starting for them. Now, the young quarterback has been dealt to Dallas in San Francisco. How will their starter, Brock Purdy, perform this season? Can Purdy stay healthy all season long? Can he get San Francisco back to another NFC Championship game and possibly the Super Bowl? After breaking down every single division in the NFL for the past 4 weeks, tonight on the Sports Show, we bring to you our predictions on who we think will make it to the playoffs, who will barely miss the playoffs, and who will advance to Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. Plus, the latest breaking news in the NBA, and last week in baseball, the New York Yankees have finally ended their losing streak. It's showtime.
From the gridiron to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
All right, here we are. Yes, sir. You wanted the best. You got the best when it comes to the world of sports talk. What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I am Ezra Vickrey, of course, and this is our Nation Sports Show. And this time, you got the new dynamic duo here. We'll get our buddy here introduced in a moment. But first, as always, we thank you guys for joining us, as always, on this show. And before we get started, we want to talk to you guys about the ways you can interact with us. Of course, right here on youtube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Please hit us up. We will be here live. You can go in the chat and hang with us. If you got any comments, concerns, you want to put in some of your comments about what we're going to talk about tonight, which we'll get into soon here, you're more than welcome to. And don't forget to follow also at Owen_Sports Show on Twitter, Facebook.com/Our Nation Sports Show, and Instagram.com/Our Nation Sports Show. Also, don't forget to follow Too Sweet Cosplay at Too Sweet Cosplay across all socials. Some of us will be at All Out this weekend, so look for us. Don't forget about that coming up after an amazing All-In show, of course, this past Sunday, which will be discussed on our next plug, which is the Nation's Corner. At The Nation's Corner on YouTube, and everywhere else is at Nation's Corner. Follow them. They're on the show same time as we are, 7 p.m. Eastern, but on Saturdays. Join Tony Justice, our boys in the chat right now. Yeah! Front row, Deb Housen, and of course, our buddy Montgomery and Mike as well, as they get into everything in the world of professional wrestling, and they got a lot to talk about this week. So join them live as they discuss everything pro wrestling, possible interviews, and more. Like I said, at The Nation's Corner on YouTube. Follow them there, subscribe, and you'll get all their videos when they go live, including exclusive interviews. And speaking of exclusive interviews, before we get started, we'd also like to remind everybody that tomorrow we'll be recording an exclusive interview with our good friend from SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio, Lance Meadow. He will be on with us tomorrow to discuss the NBA, the NFL, of course. Get into some Giants coverage, get into the playoffs, talk a little bit about the upcoming season, and that will not be live tomorrow, folks, but it will be recorded and it'll premiere on September 6th, the day before the beginning of the regular season. So please keep an eye on our social medias, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get that notification when that video goes live. All right, enough of the plugs, enough of the spiel, enough of the sponsors we don't have to pay. Let's get going on this. And we got with us tonight just this guy. Just two guys, if you're a New Japan fan, you know what that means. But got with me my boy, JT Joey Thornton, who's joining me tonight. What's going on, Joey?
What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having an amazing Tuesday night. And yes, I did get that Just Two Guys reference, so I think I can speak for both of us when I say that this show is going to be absolutely too sweet.
Oh, you know it will, brother. You know it will. And, we got a lot to talk about. We got, of course, like it's the NFL playoffs. We're going to give our picks a little bit. And we got video from Steven. Steven is currently out at a concert tonight, so he's not joining us for the show. And Kevin is taking the night off to have some family time, which, of course, is always important. So definitely,
very important.
Yep, all the best to Kevin, Rory, and our crew for doing that. Of course, but before we begin, unfortunately, we got to talk about some sad news in the world. Not in sports specifically, but in the world of professional wrestling. Wednesday night, we learned of the passing of WWE Hall of Famer and one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, that being Terry Funk. Of course, he died at the age of 79. And then on Thursday afternoon, late afternoon, we learned the shocking and tragic passing of Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, at the age of just 36 years old. Tough week this has been for us as wrestling fans. Bray unfortunately passed away from a heart attack in his sleep. And those heart problems were more enhanced by COVID. Unfortunately, he passed on this Thursday, leaving behind his wife JoJo, his 4 kids, his father IRS, Mike Rotunda, and his brother Bo Dallas, Taylor Rotunda. So it was a very tragic moment. Lots of tributes on multiple shows. All in. Buddy Matthews paid tribute to Bray with the lantern during his entrance with the House of Black. Renee read the tweet about how wrestling is from Bray when he posted that earlier this year.
And of course, you can't forget about what Seth freaking Rollins did this past weekend at a live event when he did the upside down face that Bray used to always do whenever he was first coming into WWE.
Yep, and also last night on Raw as well, with not only him doing the Yowie Wowie, which was Bray's gimmick in the Firefly Funhouse, but also having the Fiend side plates on his WWE World Heavyweight Championship as well. Yes. And many wrestlers, of course, wore Wyndham or Bray wristbands, including Becky Lynch, who broke down at the end of the night.
Roman Reigns breaking character to pay true homage by giving Bray Wyatt's family the blue Universal Championship belt, which is, of course, what first came around whenever Bray Wyatt first won a title back in 2019 when he beat Seth freaking Rollins at, I think it was Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And the fact that Bray Wyatt brought on that blue championship belt and Roman Reigns has officially retired it and given it to the members of Bray Wyatt's family. I mean, that's showing true class right there. So,
yeah.
Peace definitely to you, Roman.
Yep. And, like we said, everybody was paying tribute in their own ways. 10 bell salutes, all different sorts of stuff. Fulham and Arsenal over in the UK were having a game and they played Broken Out in Love during intermission.
Nice.
They played in many. They also played the song in Wembley Stadium before the show started at All In. So it was a nice weekend in tribute of great wrestler, future Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
And of course, WWE also bringing in a guy who is very, very quite familiar with the Wyatt family because he ran with them for such a long time, and that, of course, was Mr. Eric Rowan.
Yep, him and Braun Strowman, who had been out with injury,
him and Braun Strowman.
were both there on Friday Night SmackDown to pay tribute to their fallen comrade, and it
And
sucks.
Eric Rowan and now Braun Strowman, they've had to say goodbye to two of their brothers in the past 4 years. I mean, it's really got to be hurting on them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of the superstars are unfortunately hurting as well. But we here at our Nation Sports Show would like to send our condolences to Bray and Terry Funk's family, friends, and legions of fans, as well as their fellow co-workers and everybody else who's affected by this. May he rest in peace, and just I hope for peace, and I hope for some sort of healing soon. Services
Absolutely.
and all that have not been announced yet, but will hopefully be announced very soon. So, even if you want,
And of course, you can't forget about what all Terry Funk has done for the company. I mean, he was known as the king of hardcore for a reason. I mean, he's the reason why we have these death matches. And like you said in the pre-show, Ezra, this is why we have wrestlers such as Nick Gage and all these other guys who go tooth and nail whenever they step foot in that ring. It's all because of the king of hardcore himself, Terry Funk.
Absolutely. When you look at guys like Nick Gage, Alice Colon, John Wayne Murdoch, all these guys would not be here if it wasn't for guys like Terry Funk, guys like Asocia Anita. But Terry was,
and of course,
you
also can't forget that Terry Funk is the one who trained the one, the only Mick Foley.
Absolutely, and them two are known for their legendary death matches, King of the Death Match tournament matches they've had, left scarred and bloodied and bruised from C4 explosions and barbed wire and glass and other objects. It's just so Terry Funk reinvented. So we also can't recognize without recognizing that Terry Funk is also a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion as well. He has held the legendary 10 pounds of gold. So, big accomplishment there. Of course, part of the Funks with Dory. Like I said, he's a WWE Hall of Famer with his brother. Just an overall great person. He was actually from my neck of the woods in Hammond, Indiana, actually. So,
oh wow!
And so he was born in Hammond, Indiana, but raised in Texas. So, but both of their contributions will never be forgotten, and we send our prayers and condolences to them. Also quickly, we want to mention the passing of Bob Barker at the age of 99. Of course, the famous host of The Price is Right. It's definitely, of course, former guest general manager of Raw at one point.
Yep.
So, but he made it to the ripe age of 99, and we're glad we have some memories with him. We grew up watching Price is Right back in the day. About him, so rest in peace to him, and condolences to his family and friends as well. And one more to end it, and then we'll get on to the sports. For those of you who are music fans, you may not know this name. It's not a household name, but Bernie Marsden passed away in his 70s as well. Bernie Marsden was the original guitar player in the band Whitesnake, and with David Coverdale wrote their signature song, Here I Go Again, which is, of course, the legendary song off of what was originally known as the 87 record. He wrote the original lyrics and everything, so
oh wow,
condolences to him as well. But with that being said, we got some sports to talk about, brother. And let's get started. And let's get right. Before we get into our NFL coverage, which we're going to get into and we are going to take care of, first, a couple quick notes from the world of the NBA. One of the biggest ones is P.J. Washington has signed a 3-year, $48 million contract extension with, I believe it is, the Charlotte Hornets.
You would be correct, sir.
Yep. And so he's sticking around for 3 more years with new ownership. So it's going to be interesting. Yep. Also, real quick, good news coming out of the James family, which is Bronny is set to make a full recovery from his health scare that he had earlier this year. So great news from that. We always give LeBron, grief and all that, but we do it as a joke, and we don't want.
We definitely do it as a joke because honestly, there are many people out there that don't like LeBron. There's so many people out there that don't respect LeBron, and like Ezra just said, we give LeBron a hard time, but then again, we give everybody a hard time, and you can't deny what LeBron has done in the NBA. I mean, you can't really deny what all he's done. I mean, he's the scoring leader for a reason. That's because he knows how to get to the basket. He knows how to make plays. He knows how to get teammates involved. So, I mean, you can't deny what the man's done.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Also, I got to mention real quick is also the fact that also we got to mention the fact is also there will be a new statue that will be debuting at the Crypto.com arena for the late great Kobe Bryant as well. That statue will be unveiled in 2024, and I believe the statue will also feature his late daughter Gianna as well.
Oh, that is going to be amazing. You better believe this. You better believe on the night of that statue unveiling, you know there's going to be a sold out crowd.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's been a it's been a crazy week in the world of sports. I mean, let's get into some Major League Baseball news, since that's pretty much all the NBA news I have. And the biggest news, one of the biggest news of the week, and that is that we just learned this, that Josh Donaldson has been put on waivers by the Yankees.
Yeah, that move actually comes as rather surprising because, I mean, yeah, Josh Donaldson has not had his best season to date, considered all the teams and all the stats that he's put up over the past number of years. But then again, that entire Yankees franchise is just going downhill, at least for this season. I mean, whenever the injury happened to Aaron Judge, I want to say it was back around the early part of June, that entire offense was just like, we don't care. Our best player is on the injury list. We'll do what we can, but we ain't going to be able to do much with Judge out. And, well, they proved their points. I mean, the Yankees haven't amounted to much of anything this year. As a matter of fact, they are, of course, sitting in last place right now, and there's a pretty good chance that they will finish in last place in the American League East this season. Not unless they can pull a complete turnaround. Now, obviously, we all know they're not going to catch Baltimore and Tampa Bay. I mean that's going to be a dogfight for the American League East. Maybe the Yankees can try to catch Boston if they can get on a hot streak right here towards the end of the season, but who knows at this point.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out, because Donaldson is a guy who at one point was a big, huge hit for the Yankees. I remember when his name came out, he was one of the premier hitters that they had. And it just seems like that team has kind of fallen to the wayside. And they have great players on their team, but it just seems like it's just not there this season for them. And they really, really have just tumbled downhill this season. And it leaves a lot of questions, but it also leaves this, is that where we know, MLB has their own draft, they have their own thing coming up. So the question is, with the Yankees being last place in the AL East, do you see them? I mean, obviously, it's not like the NFL where there's a bunch of different positions. It's obviously you're looking for great hitters, but you're also looking for great infielders, outfielders, shortstop, all that. The question is, I mean, where do you think they need Joey? Where do you think they need to look? The Yankees do. Just a little sidebar question. What do you think they need to look for to really elevate the team? Does it involve ownership? Does it involve management? Or just do they need new players to kind of help bounce out? Do they need to look for a superstar? Somebody who's going to be on the free agent market this coming year?
I honestly don't think they need to look for a major star because, yes, there are going to be a few major stars that are going to be hitting the free agent market this year, and obviously they're all going to look towards the Yankees because of the championship history and the ownership and everything like that. But honestly, the Yankees, they need to focus on themselves more than focusing on other players. Because if the Yankees play their cards right, and if they have the right ownership and the right management, the players that they have on the team right now could very well make a strong push in the MLB playoffs. But it's just like I said earlier, whenever that injury happened to Aaron Judge with his toe back in the early part of June, the offense just sputtered. I mean, the team was barely showing up. They couldn't even get off the team bus to play a game because they were so far off. And part of that, I think, has to do with the management. I mean, yes, Aaron Boone is definitely a Yankees legend. I'm not going to deny that because he's the one that guided or that finished off the Boston Red Sox so many years ago in that 2004 American League Championship Series, in which he hit that high towering fly ball to left field to give the Yankees that Game 7 win to go to the World Series that year. So there's no doubt he's a Yankees legend as a ball player. But as a manager, yeah, I don't have quite that same amount of confidence in him because keep in mind, Aaron Boone has been ejected more times this season than any other manager in Major League Baseball. I mean, yeah, I understand he's trying to prove a point when it comes to arguing calls and arguing balls and arguing strikes, but I mean, the one thing that every Major League Baseball manager should know is that umpires, they have authority. And if you try to butt heads or try to prove your point to an umpire and it gets to the point of the extreme, the manager's going to lose every time. The manager is obviously going to lose every time because they'll be hitting the showers early because of the umpires.
Yep.
So, I mean, Aaron Boone, he had a great year last year. He did. But it's just that offense and that defense, especially in the outfield, they need help. Because, I mean, Aaron Judge, he had a career year last year, hitting all those home runs and breaking the single season home run record. But like I said, that injury back in June just derailed the Yankees. It caused them to undergo an absolute collapse on offense. And until the Yankees can learn how to focus on themselves instead of trying to focus on major superstars that are going to be hitting the free agent market this offseason, I mean, the Yankees, they obviously have the cap space. They obviously have the money to go get anybody they want to. But until they learn how to focus on team chemistry, they're not going to go anywhere. Hands down.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, Joey. The Yankees right now are what I would consider a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
But anything can change. We'll see what happens as the season progresses and the offseason begins. But speaking of offseason and speaking of players, this is a big get, and that is that the LA Angels have placed nearly a quarter of their roster on waivers today, including starter Lucas Giolito, relievers Matt Moore and Reynaldo Lopez, and outfielders Hunter Renfroe and Randall Grichuk. So,
I mean, there's not really much you can say about that. I mean, the Angels are obviously trying to make enough cap space to sign Shohei Ohtani to a max deal because, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Shohei Ohtani is going to be a free agent this offseason.
yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Speaking of Shohei Ohtani, good thing we could transition into that for a moment. There was news that broke this past week that Shohei Ohtani will not be pitching for the rest of the season after a UCL tear.
Yep, and it's possible that if he's going to have Tommy John surgery, he's going to be out all next year. and possibly the first half of 2024 or 5 the following season. Because it's not easy to come back from Tommy John surgery.
No.
It's definitely not easy. I mean, Bryce Harper was able to do it in 6 months. Kudos to him for doing that. But for all these other players, it's not easy to come back from Tommy John surgery. Definitely not easy. And Shohei Ohtani, I mean, keep in mind that Ohtani has already had one Tommy John surgery. I believe it was on the same elbow or the same UCL back in 2018.
Yeah.
So the fact that he potentially could be facing another one, which could keep him out all of next season. I mean, this is going to be a shocking blow to an Angels franchise because hardly anybody's staying healthy anymore. I mean, especially Mike Trout. I mean, he was out for such a long time, was reinstated for a game against the Cleveland Guardians, and then the very next day, he was put back on the injury list. So, I mean, the Angels are just having trouble staying healthy right now.
Yeah. Yeah, they are having trouble staying healthy. But if Shohei Ohtani, though, if they're getting rid of all that cap space to sign him and he's out for not only this season, but a chunk of 2025, I mean, it's a smart signing to keep him around, but the question is, then you're eating up cap space, for a guy who's going to be sitting on the bench for the next 2 years. For next year.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's the question is, would you give him a max deal? I mean, obviously, if you don't, then Shohei's going to go somewhere else and be utilized, but it doesn't matter because if he signs with one, it doesn't matter if he signs with the Angels or if he signs with the freaking Padres or signs with Phillies or whatever. He's still going to be A, eating cap space, B, be sitting for maybe up to a year and a half. So it's going to be a question to see who's going to be willing to take that risk.
Absolutely. And before we go on, I do want to give a big shout out to the chat to Mr. William Gyron, who's joining us on the chat. Mr. William, good evening, sir. Hope you're doing well.
Yep, absolutely. Hope you're doing well, sir. Of course, he's always joining us in the chat as always. But I believe that's it for Major League Baseball news. So let's get right into it. We got some NFL playoff predictions. And Joey, why don't you explain to the folks at home what we're doing here?
So yeah, we got NFL playoff predictions to talk about. I mean, yes, the NFL season hasn't started yet, and I do want to go ahead and point out to everybody who is watching or will be watching next week when all four of us are back. We are bringing back the NFL prediction battle. I am so looking forward to it. It was our favorite segment during football season last year. And we'll see if Mr. KR Kevin Roy will be able to retain his crown or if we're going to crown a new prediction battle champion.
Well, at least we know it won't be William Gyron or Randy. At least we know it won't be Randy.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is he can't pick any team that Tom Brady's on to lose. At this time.
That's true. He won't be having no 0 scores for the Bucks this season, or no -10 scores for the Bucks this season.
Oh God, help us!
But of course, then again, now that the Bucks are in a dumpster fire, we might be giving them -10 point games.
I give myself
or 0 point games.
I would give myself -10 points.
Especially since they got a true dumpster leader named Baker Mayfield as our quarterback, who overthrows everybody.
Oh, God, help us.
Yeah, this is going to be one very interesting season, and all four of us are looking forward to it.
Yep. All right. I guess how we're doing this is, of course we got 4 divisions in each conference. Of course, only one team from each conference can make the main playoffs. And then, of course, you have the wild card. Obviously, we're going to focus on the main playoff picture first. and then kind of give our wild card predictions because wild cards could be anything, could be anybody.
Oh yeah.
So anything's possible. And so let's go ahead and I'll start off with the AFC. I'll start off with the AFC.
Okay.
Obviously the AFC, it's got some stacked divisions. For me, for the AFC East, obviously I'm going to go with Buffalo Bills to be in the playoffs. They're going to win the AFC East. AFC West, that would be more open if half the teams on there didn't suck, but of course I got to roll with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs on that one. It's their division. Yeah. It's their division to lose. AFC North. It's a tough one because, I mean, for me, it's you got Joe.
It is a very tough one. It is a very tough one because one question you got to ask yourself is Lamar Jackson finally got his contract. So now, is he going to go out and play like he's earned it?
Yeah. And Joe Burrow hopefully will be back by at least the first game, if not the second game, after dealing with that calf strain.
I've actually heard a quick update about Joe Burrow. He, according to the head coach, Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow has been making some strides, and he should be ready to go week 1.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. He should be ready to go week 1, barring any setbacks.
Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to go with the Bengals, just because they came so close last year, and I feel like this is their year to really push it forward. Ravens are going to be not that far behind. I don't think. I think Lamar Jackson's going to show out this year. I think he is because he's got to prove this year that he's worth all that money that they spent on him. And then the AFC South, Jesus.
Yeah. I will say, though, a real quick note about the AFC South. It has been reported that the Colts were unable to trade star running back Jonathan Taylor, and also he is staying on the physically unable to perform list, which means Taylor will now be forced to sit out at least the first 4 games of this upcoming season. So that could be a huge blow to Indianapolis.
Yeah. And especially if they can't trade him or give him the money that he wants, he's just going to sit for the entire season. He ain't going to play.
Yeah, that too.
So with that being said, this might sound crazy, but it's tough between the Titans and the Jaguars because I don't trust the Colts. Texans are still in rebuilding mode. I'm going to go with Jacksonville, just because I feel like they're last year they made a lot of strides and they gave some surprising wins, and I feel like they can do it again and maybe squeak this one out by a game, maybe game, maybe 2 games. So I'm going to give it to him, and that's my AFC. Those are the 4 teams that are moving on to the playoffs. Joey, go ahead and give your AFC, and then I want to hear your wild card predictions for the AFC too.
Okay, so obviously I'm going to agree with all 4 division winners. Buffalo from the AFC East. Even though it was posted in our chat earlier that Von Miller is on the physically unable to perform list, and he'll have to miss the first 4 games of the season, at least the first 4 games. But that's just one player of a massive roster that Buffalo has been building, especially with quarterback Josh Allen, receivers Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, and of course that big bad defense that will be led by Von Miller, of course, whenever he does come back. But that defense is just monstrous right now for Buffalo. I mean, they have done a great job keeping everybody in check. They've done a great job rebuilding their offensive and defensive lines and rebuilding the secondaries and the backfield. I mean, Buffalo has just done a great job with that. So Buffalo is definitely my pick to be number 1 in the AFC East. And Jacksonville for the AFC South, that is actually going to be my pick too. I mean, the AFC South, in my opinion, is going to be the closest race this upcoming season because it's pretty much going to be a two-team battle between Jacksonville and Tennessee. Because, like you said, Ezra, I don't trust Indianapolis, especially with Taylor missing the first 4 games. Anthony Richardson, who's going to be the Colts starting quarterback, I mean, he's gotten his feet wet, but I don't know if he's quite ready for a pro, like an all-star pro career just yet. I think he will be ready in about 2 to 3 years. So this year is pretty much able to get his feet wet. And who knows, Richardson might surprise us all and be a top superstar, possibly win Rookie of the Year whenever this season wraps up. So, I mean, who knows? Anything can happen in the world of football. Anything can happen in the world of sports in general.
Yep.
But yeah, Jacksonville, I think, is going to be the winner of the AFC South. It's going to be very close. I would say maybe a game, maybe 2 over Tennessee. The AFC West, I'm definitely going to go with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City because as long as Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback for Kansas City, ain't nobody going to try to challenge Kansas City for the AFC West. Now, the Chargers do get a little bit better. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but the Chargers, they're on their way up. They are on their way up with Justin Herbert at quarterback, Austin Eckler in the backfield, and Keenan Allen over there at wide receiver. And that defense led by, of course, Joey Bosa is going to be, I mean, they're definitely on their way up. They definitely are. But like I said, as long as Patrick Mahomes is in charge, Kansas City is going to be coming out on top.
Yeah.
And the AFC North, I'm definitely going to go with Cincinnati. I mean, I think this is Joe Burrow's year to shine, especially since he has two of the best wide receivers in the AFC regime right now with his former college teammate Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And you can't forget about the offensive line that drastically improved from the year that the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. And I think Baltimore is going to come up just short of the AFC North crown, but I think it's going to be Cincinnati to take the AFC North. So now my wild card picks. I've been scrambling. I've been racking up some thoughts, and I think I've pretty much come up with who I think is going to make the wild card. So I think my first wild card team is going to be Baltimore. Like I said just a few minutes ago, Baltimore is going to come up just short of the AFC North crown. But I still think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs as a wild card team because of Lamar Jackson finally getting the contract that he thinks he so rightfully deserved, and he may have deserved it. But don't get me wrong, we've seen players get signed to major contracts all the time and then go out and play like they're not even worth it. So it'll be interesting to see if Lamar Jackson goes out and really plays like he earned that contract. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, then that's going to be pretty much $260 million flushed down the drain. So Lamar Jackson is really going to have to step up now that he finally got his contract. And if he does step up and does make plays, I think Baltimore is going to make it to the wild cards, at least. Now, my second wild card team is going to be, believe it or not, the team that blew a 27-0 lead in the wild card playoffs last season. That, of course, being the LA Chargers. And rightfully so, they deserve to have another shot at the playoffs, at least the wild card rounds. Because, like I said, that defensive line led by Joey Bosa, the offense led by Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and Keenan Allen, as long as they all stay healthy, they can be a threat and potentially give Kansas City a fight in the AFC West. So it'll be interesting to see if those players can stay healthy. Now, this last wild card team, I know people are expecting me to say the New York Jets, but honestly, I'm not saying the Jets. I think the Jets are going to come just short. I would say if each team or each conference could have 4 wild card teams, I would definitely put the Jets in the 4th wild card spot. They're literally going to come that close. Because yeah, the Jets may have Aaron Rodgers, they may have Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, they may have Breece Hall coming back from his ACL, and of course, former Minnesota Vikings running back Dalvin Cook, who just signed with the team a couple weeks ago. And yes, they may have a defense led by one of the best corners in the game right now in Sauce Gardner. But the Jets, to me, I believe they're going to come up just short, mainly because the Jets are playing in such a very competitive conference. And there are just 7 other teams right now that are better than the Jets, at least for this upcoming season. Now, in later on seasons, future seasons, if Aaron Rodgers decides to stick around for another 1 to 2 years, I might put the Jets in that wild card spot. But I just really would like to see what they are made of this year. So that means my last wild card playoff team is going to be the team that's going to finish just ahead of the New York Jets in the AFC East, the Miami Dolphins. I think if Tua can stay healthy, which Tua has put in a lot of work in the offseason to prevent his concussions and his head injuries, because that was the one thing that really rocked the Miami Dolphins organization last year, was the fact that Tua was having all these head injuries and his concussions and everything like that was keeping him out for weeks and weeks at a time. I think that if he can stay healthy and that the Dolphins can boost their offensive line, which they have a little bit, they have boosted their offensive line a little bit. And as long as Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle continue to be the speedy receivers that can catch a ball in any given space at any given time, and as long as that defense continues to step up, which they did last season, I think Miami can do just enough to make that last wild card spot. So there are my 3 wild card teams: Baltimore, the Chargers, and the Dolphins.
And you know what, Joey? Those are my 3 as well. Your picks are pretty much mine because you're right about the Jets. The one thing I will say about the Jets, and it's not just anything more than team chemistry. Team chemistry is what makes a team. Not just talent, not just the ability to throw a ball or catch it or run with it, but team chemistry. And the Jets don't have that. The Jets don't have that because they're a brand new built team.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking about, let's see, the 04-05 Patriots. We're not talking about the Green Bay Packers of like 2009 and 2012.
Yeah.
We're not talking about teams like that. We're talking about a brand new built team. And yes, there is chemistry between some of the components. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers to Al Lazard, who, of course, were both in Green Bay together. But he's never given the ball to Dalvin Cook. He's never given the ball to this guy or that guy. And obviously, Sauce Gardner, one of the best defensive players out there, and the best corners. Look, you have great components. But it's like a soup. You have all the ingredients, you put it together, but it takes a while for those ingredients to melt, to gel together, to create the perfect taste. And for instance, for Green Bay or for New York, it's going to take a little bit of time for them. That's why I do agree with you. They will miss the wild card spot by just a hair. And I do agree with you on Baltimore getting into this wild card spot because of Lamar Jackson and his ability. He's going to prove, I think, this year that he's worth every cent that they paid him. I don't think he's going to slack off. I don't think he's going to, despite wins, losses, whatever, he's going to prove his worth. And you mentioned the Chargers. The Chargers, yes, they have a very strong offense. Like you said, Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and in that defense too, which is pretty stacked. And I think they have every opportunity to really shock some people and make some noise in the AFC. So, I agree with those picks as far as the AFC goes, as far as the wild card goes. Now we move on to the NFC, which is going to be really interesting. Now for the for the NFC North, I know I picked Chicago last week to win the division, but after consideration and after thinking about it a little bit, I'm gonna pick the Lions. To me, the Lions just have a better. They made some huge moves in the offseason. Last year, they shocked a lot of teams, garnered a pretty good record for what they were. They had some big wins, including Green Bay, which basically ruined Green Bay's playoff chances. You know, Detroit is one of those teams that's really popped out of nowhere and proven that they could be a contender. And, you know, to me, they made the right moves. We got the right key components, and I think that this year is going to be their year to really shine and bring some prestige back to a city who hasn't had it in almost 2 decades. Ever since Matt Stafford was quarterback, and unfortunately he was surrounded by a lot of crappy teams, you know, a lot of bad offenses and a lot of bad, you know, just a lot of bad coaching too. I think everything is right in the world right now with the coaching staff, with everything, the players gelling together. I think this is the year that Detroit really showcases who they are. So I see them as the winners of the NFC North and moving on to the playoffs. NFC South, I would give it to Steven's favorite team, the Carolina Panthers, but then I would be lying to myself and thinking I'm on like LSD or something. An alternate universe where the fucking Panthers are Super Bowl champions.
I'm telling you one thing, I don't mean to cut you off, but the NFC South is just going to be an absolute dumpster fire this season. It really is.
You know what? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't care. Blah blah blah. Fuck it. You know what? Fuck it. You know what? I'm gonna pick the fucking Saints. I don't care. It's that division is just trash.
It is.
Talk about not playing with a full deck. Holy shit. But okay, now NFC East. This is an interesting one. But I gotta go with the Eagles. I gotta go with good old I gotta go with Mr. Jalen Hurts there. They were so close. They won a championship. They're gonna be looking to get back. And you know that team's gonna be hungry. It's Jalen Hurts is gonna come in there like a house of fire.
Oh yeah.
And that offense is lethal. And I expect them to really, really showcase who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the NFC West, of course, the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle,
Deebo Samuel,
dude. That and their defense.
I was about to say the defense. I mean, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner,
yep,
Hufanga back there in at safety, Javon Hargrave, who they picked up from Philadelphia in the offseason.
Yeah,
and of course the big bad boy himself, Nick Bosa.
Yeah, Nick Bosa. You can't go without Nick Bosa on that, man. And they're an easy contender.
I mean, that 49er defense is going to be absolutely deadly.
Oh, I agree. Now time for my wild cards. And this is a tough one.
Yeah, this
Card,
this
wild
is going to
card
be very tough.
for me. One of my wild cards. Obviously, I'm going to pick Chicago. The reason, to me, I think it's because they've had a lot of key components. As a Chicago fan, of course, some blatant favoritism, obviously. But I'm also not delusional here too. The Bears they made some right moves. The offense is still a bit questionable, only because it seems like even in practice, I know practice doesn't mean anything, and I know that the preseason doesn't mean shit either. But Justin Fields, he seems like he's getting comfortable, but it just seems like that, I don't know, something's missing. Maybe another receiver, maybe more help on the offensive line, even though they did get some offensive line help this offseason. And they got freaking what's his name on their offense? I can't remember his name off the top of my head for catching. He
For
threw,
Chicago,
yeah,
you talking about DJ Moore?
DJ Moore. They got him as one of their biggest picks, and let me tell you, DJ Moore is going to be a big help to Justin Fields. And some great, they got Tremaine Edmonds on their too, and it's, you know what, their defense to me, I think, looks better than their defense has had in years. As of this point, they, in that first game, and I know it's a preseason game, they had several takeaways, several fumble recoveries, interception. They had a little bit of everything. And, you know, I think we're starting to get back, especially defensively, to the monsters of the Midway. Those defenses that had Lance Briggs and Brian Urlacher and just, dude, freaking just Unrain, you know, all those guys on that defensive side of the ball.
Julius Peppers,
Peanut Tillman, you know, those guys. And I think that defense is starting to look like that defense of old.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who can forget when Charles Tillman was back there shutting down receivers for Chicago?
And punching and doing that, what he called the peanut punch.
Yes.
Knocking those balls loose so that way our defense can swarm it and get it. Dude, Peanut was one of a kind, and, you know, and all that.
And of course, you can't forget about one of the best kick returners in the history of the sport, that being Mr. Devin Hester.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My boy, Devin Hester, man. I have a jersey-like shirt of his sitting in my closet.
Nice.
But the Bears are my first wild card pick because I think they made some improvements. Obviously, I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to move on too far, but we'll see what happens. My second wild card pick. I'm actually going to go with Dallas. And the reason why I think they would be a good wild card pick is, to me, they made some good decisions in the offseason. One of them is an unfortunate one, but it was getting rid of Ezekiel Elliott, because now Tony Pollard can truly shine. Tony Pollard last year, when Ezekiel Elliott was hurt, was an absolute monster. Because he's a dual threat. He can play the wide receiver position, and he could be a running back. And the guy's got size too, which is big too. He's not your normal. He's got size on a lot of players. He's a good running back. He's a good running back who can pierce through defenses, but he's also a great running back who can run those long routes, the slots. He can do whatever he needs to do. He's great on both ends of the ball. And Dak, we always make fun of Dak Prescott, obviously, and rightfully so, because let's be honest here. But to be honest, if he doesn't throw to CeeDee Lamb and he don't CD ball, the only thing they're going to be seeing is an interception, pick six.
Still the best one-liner in the history of the sports show.
Yes.
Kudos to Kevin for that.
Yeah, and and obviously can't forget about CeeDee Lamb. And joking aside, he is great at what he does too. He's a great receiver as well. So, with that being said, I mean, Dallas, I think, has got a lot of tools and trade to make it to the wild card spot. Question is, how far will they go? Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But Dallas is my number 2. Now my number 3 And mind you, I am making these up on the fly, so I'm not doing this made. I didn't think of this ahead of time. This is tough. But you know what? I'm going to go with another NFC North team. Believe it or not, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. And the reason being is the big question is what Kirk Cousins will we see? Will we see the Kirk Cousins that made it to the playoffs and had great success? Or will we see the Kirk Cousins of the old Redskins days where he was having trouble and couldn't throw to nobody? But there is one guy he's got on his team that has been his ace in the hole last year, Justin Jefferson.
Jay Jettis, baby.
That guy was an absolute lethal weapon last year. Hell, his catches were on freaking Sports Center highlight top 10s.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is a damn athletic beast when he gets out there, whether it's in a slant, in a crossing route, whether he's out deep. That guy can catch the ball from anywhere. He's got great hands, great speed, great footwork, and I think he's going to be the difference maker on that offense for Kirk Cousins. If he can get open and get away from defenses, I think that's just going to lead to problems for all other teams in there, not only in their respective division but also in the conference as well. It's because I feel like Minnesota, out of everybody else in this entire conference, is I think the only true one that could really make a splash. The only other one I could say would be the New York Football Giants. That would be the only other one. If there was a fourth one, I would pick the New York Football Giants, to be honest with you. But those are my three wildcard teams: Chicago, Minnesota, and Dallas.
All right, so this is where we're actually going to have a little bit of a disagreement.
Okay.
I will agree with two of your wildcard teams. I will agree with two of them, those being Chicago and Dallas. I do think those two teams are going to make it to the wild card because, like you said, Ezra, Chicago made huge strides in the offseason. Yes, they traded away their number one overall pick, but in return, Chicago got a nice defensive player to put back there, and of course, one of the best slot receivers in the game right now, who's definitely going to be Justin Fields' number one target, DJ Moore. I mean, when DJ Moore was in Carolina, it didn't matter who was at quarterback. DJ Moore was the one that was making them look good because of the way that he can catch the ball, the way that he can run routes, the way he can make plays, the way that he can block in a run on a running play. I mean, DJ Moore can pretty much do it all. And the fact that he's going to have a dual threat quarterback, Justin Fields, throwing to him this season, and the fact that Chicago is really building up their defense once again, it may not be as good as the Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher days, but it's going to be close. It is going to be close. So I can definitely see Chicago making a splash and making the playoffs this season. And the other one I can agree on is, as much as I hate to say it, Dallas. Because me being a Washington fan, I honestly would love to see my boys make it to the wild card this season, and they will make it to the wild card. They are going to make it to the wild card round of the playoffs, just not this season. Now, if Sam Howell can definitely give above average performances and go beyond his standards that everybody thinks he's going to do, seeing as how this will be his first full season as the Washington Commanders starter, I can see Washington potentially making the wild card, but it's all going to depend on the leadership and the gameplay of Sam Howell. Because if you were to put and I am of course just throwing names out there. If you were to put Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, if you were to put those guys at quarterback for the Commanders, they would definitely win the NFC East or potentially make the wild card rounds, hands down. Because Washington, they do have a stout offense with scary Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, and Curtis Samuel, and that offensive line and that defense that is once again looking pretty stacked. But of course, we said the same thing last season with Washington's defense looking stacked, and what happened? They got exposed. So now that Chase Young is going to be back for a full season this upcoming year, I do think Washington's defense does look a little bit better. They still have holes, which is why I think they're just barely going to miss out on the playoffs.
Okay.
But, Dallas, they just have a stacked team on paper. Dak Prescott, who is going to try his best not to throw 10 interceptions this season. Yeah, we'll see about that. But anyway, finally, Dallas realizing that they needed a true running back, and of course by true running back, I mean Tony Pollard, to be the head honcho for the running attack this year for Dallas. And of course, CeeDee Lamb not CDing the ball is definitely something that he needs to work on. But CeeDee Lamb is definitely a primary top target receiver for Dak Prescott. And of course, the offensive line, that has been Dallas's strong suit for so many years, and I don't see it collapsing anytime soon. Now, if they can't stay healthy, which is what happened last season, then I could definitely see some holes, and I could definitely see some struggles with Dallas. But I do think, and also on defense, Micah Parsons is definitely going to lead that linebacker core, just the entire defense in general. Now, Trevon Diggs, he's really going to have to work on not getting cooked by all these other wide receivers. Yes, he does know how to grab a few interceptions. He does know how to do that. But he just needs to stop getting burned on so many plays and be the true elite corner that Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy want him to be. Because if he doesn't, then I would definitely say Trevon Diggs has a long road ahead of him if he doesn't step up his game.
Yeah.
Now, my last wild card team, and before I do get this last wild card team, I do agree with the division winners. I think New Orleans is barely going to squeak it out over Carolina to win the NFC South this season. I definitely think Philadelphia, Detroit, and San Francisco are definitely going to win their respective divisions hands down. Now, this last wild card team, this is one that I've really been thinking about. One that I think could be dangerous if they play their cards right. One that if they can repeat their success from last season, I think they can be pretty dangerous in the playoffs if they make it this year. And the team that I'm going with is the team that I think is going to finish second, of course, in the NFC West. I'm talking the Seattle Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
I think Seattle, if Geno Smith can repeat the success he had last season at quarterback, and as long as Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf can continue to be the two receivers that Seattle has relied on for such a long time, if Kenneth Walker can retain his success that he had last season before the injury knocked him out right there towards the tail end of the season. And as long as Seattle's defense can perform not quite, of course, to the Legion of Boom standards, but an alternate version of the Legion of Boom, I really think Seattle could make a splash. And I'm definitely going to say they're not going to challenge San Francisco. They're not going to challenge San Francisco. I know they're not. Because San Francisco, like we mentioned, is just too deadly. But I really think Seattle could make a splash and potentially grab one of the wild card spots based on what their team looks like so far on paper this year. So those are my 3 wild card teams: Chicago, Dallas, and Seattle.
All right. Now, before we move on, we do have a video from our good friend, Mr. Stephen Wyatt, giving us his picks.
Yes, we do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to that video in just a second. So please bear with us here. But yes, right now we're going to go to the video. Stephen Wyatt shares his opinions on these picks. And also, we're also going to talk about in just a second when we get back, the news that broke that Trey Lance was traded to the Cowboys by the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to get into that in just a few moments, but here's our good friend, the heavy metal king from North Carolina himself, Stephen Wyatt, giving us his opinions on the NFL playoffs.
What is going on, everybody? Sorry I cannot be on the show tonight. I am in Charlotte, North Carolina tonight for Guns N' Roses, and opening up for GNR is one of my favorite modern hard rock bands, Dirty Honey, who have a brand new album coming out on the 3rd of November called Can't Find the Brakes. And I cannot wait to be back on the show with you guys next week, and I wanted to give my thoughts first on the Trey Lance trade from San Francisco to Dallas. And honestly, I know Kevin's going to have a different opinion on this, but honestly, I do not like the trade because honestly, as we all know, Brock Purdy last year, when he stepped in, first after Lance went down with the season-ending injury, and then Garoppolo went out with a season-ending injury, in comes Purdy. And Purdy had a hell of a run leading San Francisco to the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia. Now, Purdy gets injured in the game, and he still played, but all he was doing was handing the ball off. And when you can't throw with a hurt elbow, lots of problems can happen. And so, I mean, Purdy gets injured in the title game, had successful surgery to repair the elbow, and he's making strides and making a good recovery in the offseason. He's played a couple of preseason games, got his feet wet, got some passes thrown, and all that good stuff. And Lance was still a part of the roster, up to this point. But last week, that all changed as Kyle Shanahan and San Francisco have dealt Trey Lance the number 3 overall selection in the 2021 NFL Draft to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th overall selection in next year's draft. Now, here is my problem with this trade. My biggest problem with this trade is, how do we know that Brock Purdy is for sure the de facto answer to be the starting quarterback for San Francisco? Now, yes, he put up some solid numbers last season up until his injury. And while it's great that Purdy is back under center, and he is and should be the starting quarterback for San Francisco, that's not the question. The question that here is, can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy all season long? And that's why you have to have a true backup quarterback. And even though Lance did not play all that many games with San Francisco, played 8 games overall, started 4 of them. That's not a lot of games, but he can and was still learning even when Jimmy Garoppolo was there as the quarterback and playing. And all of that. So what if Purdy goes down with an injury? Trey Lance would have been there. He would have been your number one backup behind Sam Darnold, who is a credible veteran, who's been in the league for so many years, played with the Rams, played with the Vikings, played with the Panthers. Sam Darnold is not a true backup quarterback because, God forbid, if Purdy goes down with an injury, here comes Darnold, and he's not a great quarterback. That's why he's been on so many teams, because he can't stay consistent. I mean, my God, against New Orleans, he went 5 of 15, and they still won the game when he was with the Panthers. Give me a freaking break. Kyle Shanahan, you're supposed to be an offensive guru, and that is your number one backup quarterback? Sam Darnold? I'm sorry. As Steve Austin once said, no, Trey Lance should have been still on this roster as week 1 is next week. I'm sorry. Because if Brock Purdy can stay healthy, okay, you proved me wrong. Give me a full freaking season, Purdy, under center, where you can stay healthy and have a full season campaign, a full 17-season campaign. I'm sorry, but I do not like this trade to the Dallas Cowboys because, honestly, the Cowboys win this trade because they got Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback. You got Cooper Rush, who led the Cowboys to what? I believe like a 4-5 game winning streak up until Philadelphia beat the hell out of Rush in Dallas last year. You know, I mean, Cooper Rush had a solid run last year, winning games for Dallas. And Trey Lance, he can learn under Cooper Rush. He can learn under Dak Prescott. And who knows, even if he doesn't start for Dallas, he can learn from them. And maybe down the line, he can get traded or he can sign with a team that needs a starting quarterback. I mean, you got to think long-term, Shanahan. I mean, give me a break. This is not a good move because you really didn't get nothing out of this trade. What, a 4th overall pick? Come on. Come on. Give me a break. Anyways, so I know you guys have already made your predictions on the show about who you think is going to make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, who's going to the championship Sunday, and who's making the Super Bowl this year in Vegas. Well, here are my playoff picks. For the NFC, I had the Philadelphia Eagles at number 1. Number 2, before I continue with my number 2, my records for the conference. Philadelphia, top number 1 seed, they go 13-4. San Francisco 49ers at number 2, going 12-5. At 3, I had the Minnesota Vikings going 11-6. At number 4, I had the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, I did not stutter. The Atlanta Falcons will win the tank division, the NFC South. Atlanta will finish at 10-7. For the wild cards, I have the Dallas Cowboys once again for a second straight year. As the 5th seed, I have Dallas going 11-6. For the 6th seed, I have the Detroit Lions also going 11-6. My number 7 seed is the Seattle Seahawks, led by Geno Smith, last year's comeback player of the year. I have Seattle at best finishing 10-7, but I'm going to go 9-8 as my record because they can still make it in and go 9-8. Now, for the AFC, I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning, obviously, the AFC West. They will be the top seed in the AFC once again, this time going 14-3. Number 2 seed, the AFC East champions, the Buffalo Bills, going 13-4. Number 3 is my pick for the AFC North champions, once again, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to go, in my opinion, 12-5. At number 4, I have the AFC South champions for a second straight year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, going 11-6. For my wild card spots, I have the Jets, led by Aaron Rodgers. I have the Jets going as well as the Jaguars 11-6. For the 6th seed, I have the Los Angeles Chargers led by Austin Herbert and that big fat contract that Herbert got in the offseason. I had the Chargers going 10-7. And my number 7 seed is the Baltimore Ravens led by most recently paid quarterback getting a big fat contract, Lamar Jackson. And I also have the Ravens finishing at 10-7. For the championship Sunday round of things, I have a rematch in both of both conference championship games, but not from last season. One, yes. I had the NFC championship game once again in Philadelphia between the Eagles and San Francisco, and a rematch from when the pandemic was happening, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills at Arrowhead Stadium. And I have advancing to Super Bowl 58, the Chiefs and the Eagles. That's right, in Sin City in February, I have rematch from last year's Super Bowl 57 epic encounter. Why not? Round 2. Philadelphia, Kansas City. And you know what? I'm going to call it right here, right now. Kansas City will be the first team since the New England Patriots to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Because Patrick Mahomes is right now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the best quarterback in the National Football League. And he is that damn good, as Triple H once said. Guys, I hope you have had an awesome show tonight. I have been rocking out tonight in Charlotte, North Carolina, at Guns N' Roses, at Dirty Honey, having a great time. And I look forward to being back on the show next Tuesday on the 5th of September as, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, week 1 of the National Football League will be upon us on next week's episode, as next week we begin our favorite tradition, doing this sports show for 2 glorious years now, our NFL Picks segment. As next week we begin our prediction battles for the National Football League, and our defending NFL Picks champion Kevin Rory will put that illustrious Picks crown on the line. Guys, I want to say real quick before I end this video, I am blessed. I am honored to be a part of such a great crew, hosting a show with some of my closest friends on this planet. Ezra, Kevin, Joey, I love you guys, and I look forward to doing this show with you guys in person sometime very soon. It's going to be a hoot. It's going to be a blast in hell. We may even try to invite Randy over. Why the hell not? Because we love Randy as well. And Randy, we can't wait to have you back on the show as well, brother. And much love to all you guys. I hope you have had an awesome show tonight. And I look forward to being back on the show with you guys next week as we begin once again our NFL preview for the regular season, as next Thursday, September 7th, week 1 is here and will be here. The defending Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs, take on the Detroit Lions. And that's going to be a hell of a game. Who are we picking? Oh, you will have to find out, folks, because next Tuesday it begins our NFL regular season coverage. We are so excited. Oh, it's going to be great. And speaking of great, this concert has been great with Guns N' Roses and Dirty Honey. And guys,
Have a great rest of your show. I am out, rocking out. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the show.
Wow. First of all, does that motherfucker ever stop talking? Good Lord in heaven. All I heard was wah 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 wah.
Yeah, he's gonna get used for that one, sir.
Oh well, life is what it is. But yeah, Steven is right. We did forget to pick our conference championships and that. So you know what? I'm gonna give you. You know what? Steven's dead on balls accurate. I agree. I do agree. I think that's the best case scenario out of all the teams. I do disagree with the Jets making the playoffs though. That's about as rational. That's about as irrational as walking into. I don't have a joke for this. I'm gonna go up with a joke. I don't have anything for it. Okay. All right. I do agree with Steven's pick side. I do agree with the Super Bowl rematch. I think that's our best case scenario here. I don't know what you think, Joe, if you have a different opinion.
I actually do have a different opinion.
All right.
I mean, as much as I would like to see a Super Bowl rematch between Kansas City and Philly, I don't think it's going to happen this year. Because, yes, Kansas City and Philadelphia have strong teams, and I think they both can make a very deep playoff run. But I, on the one hand, would like to see a Super Bowl matchup that has never been seen before.
Uh-huh.
One that I think could bring ratings up to where it was about the same as Kansas City and Philadelphia from this past year.
Yeah.
One that I think could really, really be a very intriguing Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about two teams that both have very strong defenses.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, my Super Bowl matchup is going to be the 49ers against the Buffalo Bills.
You know what? I like yours better.
The 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. I would like to see teams could have absolutely, and I think.
And Joey's internet is cutting out like crazy, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens when you live close to a hurricane. So there you go. But we'll give it a second here to see if Joey will recover. In the meantime, let's go. I want to mention about the Trey Lance trade. It sucks Trey Lance got the short end of the stick in this one. Trey is one of the best young quarterbacks, and I don't like this trade, to be honest. I mean, I can understand why, but I agree with Steven that Sam Darnold is not your good second string. And we lost Joey as expected. His power went out. So I'll continue on. And Sam Darnold to me is not the second string that you need on San Fran. To me, it makes no sense why they traded him away when he really should have traded away Sam Darnold instead, or put him on waivers or whatever. It's some bad decision making there, but I know Kevin will have a different opinion and probably disagree with me. But look, as much as I respect the organization all day, I think they made a wrong decision. Trey Lance to me is a true secondary. And that's the way I go with it. All right, he's back.
Yeah, I'm doing this from my phone since my internet decided it wanted to go out.
Okay, that's fine. I just kind of moved on to the Trey Lance discussion, and I was just speaking my opinion, saying that I disagree with with what San Fran did. And the reason I do agree with Steve's point that Sam Darnold is not a true second stringer because he's just been on so many teams. He hasn't had that much success. He's not that good of a quarterback, to be honest. So if Purdy goes down, I have a bad feeling that San Fran is going to suffer.
Yeah, I can honestly agree to that because, I mean, I remember Trey Lance when he was, of course, battling. He was saying that he did not want to be a third stringer because he knows that he's a better quarterback than that. So that's why he asked for a trade. But he got traded to Dallas, which already has two decent quarterbacks. So that means as of right now, Trey Lance went from being a third stringer to a third stringer. So, I mean, that's kind of confusing to me. And honestly, I don't like this trade either because, like you said, Ezra, Sam Darnold, to me, unless he has made huge strides here in OTAs and team practices and workouts and conditioning, everything like that, he is not a backup. He is not a true backup. So we'll have to wait and see what Sam Darnold can do if, and then this is a major if, Brock Purdy tends to get injured at some point in this offseason or during the season. Now, if Brock Purdy does indeed go down at some point, whether he's out for a week or two and Sam Darnold gets the call, we'll have to see what he can do. But as far as the past goes and concerns and everything like that, Sam Darnold's not a true backup. So San Francisco should have kept Trey Lance and kept him as the backup and should have got rid of Sam Darnold instead. But that's just my 2 cents.
I agree. And finally, let's take a look at the old Twitter machine and let's run down a few things that good old Adam Schefter may have for us today. Obviously, there's some bits of stuff going on here. Give us 1 second. Let's see here. Always, I don't want dead air, but you mentioned Jonathan Taylor, of course. We mentioned that earlier. Let's see.
Oh, yeah. And the Cardinals, they have pretty much solidified their spot as to being the worst team that's not in the NFC South this season, keeping Kyler Murray on the physically unable to perform list, which means he will be out for at least the first 4 games of this upcoming season. And also meaning that Arizona's going to have to go with either a rookie or a washed-up veteran for the first 4 games of this upcoming season, which means Caleb Williams, if you're watching this, which you're probably not, but I do it for dramatic effect. If you are watching this, you might want to stay in college for another season, man. Because if you do wind up coming to the draft, you're going to get picked number 1 by Arizona, which means you're going to have a tough time, buddy. You're going to have a tough time.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You mentioned earlier, of course, Von Miller on the PUP list, which was kind of a big blow. Chris Jones is holding out right now. So with that being said, the Chiefs traded a 6th-round draft pick to the Raiders for defensive tackle Neil Farrell.
Well, somebody's got to take Chris Jones' spot while he's holding out. So hopefully this guy can do it.
Yep. Let's see. Many players were released today. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's a lot.
Oh, yeah, because today was the roster deadline to where every team had to cut down their roster to 53 players.
Yep, absolutely. Colts released safety Ronnie Harrison. Deion Jones got released from the Carolina Panthers. Then again, he's actually probably better off.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's see. I got the full update here on the ESPN app. Let me see. And of course, we're not going to be able to go over every single one of these names.
No, because it'll take the next hour, and we don't have the good time.
Yeah.
Thank God we don't, because I'd probably end up. Oh, the Cardinals have released Colt McCoy.
Oh yeah, they did release Colt McCoy.
He was still playing.
That's why they're going with either a rookie or a washed-up veteran.
Packers released.
But I am seeing some of these names, and some of these are actually kind of surprises, but then again, they're not.
Yeah.
Max Duggan, the guy who led TCU to an undefeated regular season last year, also led them to the college football playoff. He got released by the Los Angeles Chargers. Let me see. But even though all these names got released from the roster, it doesn't mean that they're out of football, because more than likely, I can pretty much guarantee about 90 to 95% of these players that got cut today, they're going to the practice squad.
Yeah.
For either the team they got released by or to another team.
Yeah. The Packers released veteran kicker Pat O'Donnell.
Wow.
Pat O'Donnell, of course, a former Chicago Bear. So.
Oh wow, yeah. I do remember seeing this, but it's still kind of surprising to me. Dallas has released quarterback Will Greer. Oh, and it seems our latest journeyman from the NFL, quarterback Trevor Siemian, got cut today by Cincinnati. Let me see.
One non cut on this one. Bad news for the Lions. Their quarterback Nate Sudfeld suffered a torn ACL during the third quarter of Friday night's preseason finale against the Panthers.
Oh goodness! Wow. Yeah, I'm just looking at seeing if there's any big names on here.
And of course, the obvious things that
here's a big name.
Okay.
Running back Myles Gaskin got released by Miami today.
Oh damn.
Wow. That's a big name.
And of course, the obvious things, which are the starters, which of course the number 1, 2, and 4 picks in the draft are going to start their respective teams.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Bryce Young in Atlanta, CJ Stroud at Baltimore, and Anthony Richardson started home on his team. So
yeah, I'm not seeing any other major names right now, but of course, if I happen to come across them, we'll be sure to say real quick before we do sign off for the night.
Yeah, because I think I've only got one or two more things to cover real quick before we log out. Obviously, there wasn't much NFL news outside of that. It was pretty quiet this week outside of course, getting ready for this upcoming season. There is one of the biggest things I want to get into is there is a rumor. The rumor is that in the MMA world that is that there could be a possibility that we may see at UFC 300 not only Ronda Rousey but possibly maybe Brock Lesnar both back.
Wow!
So, but Dana White says right now no, but you never know. What, Joey? You have something you want to say? Go ahead and lay it out.
Yeah, I did happen to come across another big name. Running back Kenyon Drake got released by the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh, interesting.
but I did see that I remember seeing this guy because ESPN did like a documentary / storyline on him. But Division II Shepherd or former Division II Shepherd University's quarterback Tyson Baggins got actually made the Chicago Bears 53-man roster today. So a huge congratulations to that young man.
And I hope he does well in the Windy City, man.
I hope he does too.
We got a winning team mentality. So hopefully, especially with our new coaches, our new ownership, or not our ownership, but our new executives and everything, that's gonna be. I'm hoping for guys like him to succeed. But, yeah. But also, rumors have been swirling about a possible fight at UFC 296 between former Bellator champion Michael Chandler and the notorious Conor McGregor. Now, there was a poster that was floating around yesterday that supposedly marked the fight for that specific pay-per-view at UFC 296 in December. However, that has been pulled from the internet, and it doesn't seem like it's true. It could be fan-made, but right now there's no official confirmed report that this fight will take place, but it is heavily rumored. So hopefully we'll get an announcement soon from Dana White and UFC about that. But it would be a pretty damn good fight between the guy who beat Dustin the Diamond Poirier and, of course, a man who is absolutely a promo machine and a great fighter too. So I would pay money to watch that fight between Conor and Chandler. So
hey, I would too. But I just came across two huge names for the same squad.
Okay.
Cole Beasley and Jamison Crowder were both placed on the terminated list for the New York Giants. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it obviously does not sound good.
I think termination list is very. I think it's not. They're not on waivers. I think you're just released.
Yeah.
So I think they're done. I think you're just done.
Wow, that's crazy.
That is. Of course, there's no NHL news. Obviously, it's been relatively quiet. Of course, we got the upcoming season, which is going to feature a lot of. It's going to be featuring a lot of interesting things going on, including the debut of this upcoming prodigy that the Blackhawks picked up in the draft, Connor Bedard, who many people consider to be a generational talent and possibly one of the great. Possibly, when he gets done with his career, one of the greatest players of all time. But we'll see about that. Otherwise, is that really no other news?
Yeah, I will say New England made a very huge mistake. They had four quarterbacks on their roster. They cut 3 of them today, which means that as of right now, Mac Jones is the only quarterback under contract for New England.
Good Lord.
That is a mistake.
I know what and then Joey, I know what the front office is probably thinking right now. And this is exactly what they're thinking.
I agree. I can definitely agree to that.
But really, outside of it,
I'm looking through all these names, and I'm not really seeing anybody else that's a really big name. So, I guess if you want to, we can go ahead and wrap this up for the night. So, I'm going to go in and get my final thoughts real quick.
Sure.
It was awesome having just a 2-man crew tonight. And thank you to, of course, Steven for sending in his video regarding his playoff predictions and his Super Bowl picks. I hope he's having an amazing time at the Guns N' Roses Dirty Honey show in Charlotte tonight. And we're looking forward to having everybody back next week for our comeback of the NFL pick segment, which includes our second annual NFL prediction battle. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be an amazing time. Looking forward to having all of us back next week. In the meantime, if you're going to be a part of this hurricane over the next couple of days, stay safe, stay dry, and just make sure that you have the supplies that you need just in case anything catastrophic were to happen. But in the meantime, enjoy the sports for what you can until the NFL season starts next week. And look forward to seeing you guys next week. Ezra, wrap this up, my brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys. Thank you to Joey for joining me as always. And thank you to Steven for sending in that video. That was awesome. Thank you for giving us your picks. We hope you have a good time tonight at the concert, man. Of course, Dirty Honey, one of the best up-and-coming young bands. Please get their new album, Can't Find the Breaks, which is, I believe, out now or coming out very soon. Go to dirtyhoney.com for all tour dates. And, of course, Guns N' Roses, once again, the touring machine back out on the road, doing more U.S. states. Of course, gunsnroses.com for all their stuff, obviously. I have no upcoming stuff coming up. I will not be attending All Out due to some personal reasons, obviously. But I will be working on some stuff, including getting down south to see these guys. Also, I want to plug real quick, Bishop Pro Wrestling is an event coming up on the 21st of October. It is called Thriller. Izzy Moreno's opponent has been announced in her second ever match in Mission Pro, as she will take on Maya World. And also the Open Casket Challenge as well has been accepted by Black Swan Zoe Dubois as she takes on JP Harlow. And also in the main event, Tiffany Nieves, the Mission Pro Wrestling World Champion, will face off against Christina Marie. It's going to be an awesome, awesome night, and many other opponents will be announced. So definitely go to missionprowrestling.com, go to Mission Pro WRES on Twitter, and Mission Pro Wrestling on their Facebook for all the updates, including On a Mission, which will be on tonight. Of course, On a Mission should be good, including some announcements, so keep an eye on that. Also, if you're in the area for that show, buy the tickets at missionprowrestling.com or go to titlematchnetwork.com to watch the show. It's only $9.99 a month. Of course, coming up this weekend is All Out with some good matches coming up. Darby Allin taking on Luchasaurus for the TNT title. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Miro. Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho for the TBS Championship. And many, many more matches to be announced this probably tomorrow night on Dynamite. So definitely check it out. Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, and All Out, all emanating from Chicago. If you're in the area, get your tickets or go to StarCast as well, which is also taking place at the Hyatt Regency Schaumburg. You can go there, get your bracelets, get your meet and greets, get all that, and head out there and have a great time. With that being said, for Joey Thornton here, for Steven, for Randy, for Kevin, and for everybody who joined us, Tony Justice, William Gyron, and of course our boy who's always in spirit with us, Big T as well. I am Ezra Vickrey. We will see you next week for another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you all next Tuesday for the return of our NFL predictions battle. Thank you, guys, and have a great evening.